On 3, 2, 1. We are speaking with the one and only Mick Benton and Graham Cowling of the band Bite the Bullet. Their new album, Black and White, came out in January. And folks, I got to tell you, it is terrific. If you love melodic rock, like I love melodic rock, you will love this album. Bonjour, gentlemen, as we say in Montreal. How are you?
Yeah, bonjour. Or in our case, bonsoir.
Bonsoir. Yeah, because you're over in Europe. But and Graham, how you doing? Oh,
I think Graham's gone again.
well, we've lost Graham, so we'll just go ahead with you, and then hopefully Graham will jump back in. The band's first album came out years ago, recently remastered by the company Rock Candy. And the remaster sounds terrific, by the way. Talk to me a little bit about making new music basically 30 years later.
Yeah, it's a bit of a long wait between two albums.
Yeah, it's kind of like the Guns N' Roses of the UK.
Yeah, basically, yeah. I mean, all the Rip Van Winkle of the music world, I think. We Bite the Bullet never disbanded. We basically just kind of put it down for a while, and we never really picked it back up. But we all stayed good friends over the years, and myself and Graham probably the closest of friends because we ended up playing in loads of covers bands up and down the UK, pubs, clubs, you name it. Really, because we just wanted to play. We wanted to play to a live audience, and that kind of took over. And that, and kind of growing up and having families and settling down, and we sort of just took our eye off the ball with Bite the Bullet, and it kind of just went on the back burner. It never really came back together again. Not really, even after Rock Candy re-released the first album, it came back together again with the lockdown all over the world with COVID-19, and even then it was by accident. We lost any kind of live work that we were doing, and I'd been writing a few songs with no lyrics, and basically Graham was itching to write some lyrics to songs because he's a drummer who writes lyrics, and he said to me, "Can you send me down a couple?" And I said, "Yeah, I think I've got a couple," and I ended up sending him down about 8 songs, and to cut a long story short, Graham just said to me, "Look," he said, "Mick, this is the best stuff you've written for years. Why don't we turn this thing around back into Bite the Bullet?" He said, "It sounds like Bite the Bullet." And I thought, well, yeah, okay. I said, well, why don't we just do that? We the first album had been re-released. Pretty good friends with some guys up in Manchester, a guy called Rob Evans who introduced us to Rock Candy. He put us in touch with Escape, and once we put it together, they were the first who said, "Look, we want it. Don't go anywhere else. We'll put it out. We want it. We love it." To be fair, we were really surprised that it actually went that fast because it was just something that happened off the back of lockdown, and then a chance, a sort of conversation about, "Hey, I've got some lyrics. Give me some music to write, lyrics to," and it kind of rekindled itself from that really. So that's how it happened, and why it happened. It wasn't even on purpose, Mitch. It was just happened.
What a great story. Graham, are you there, by the way? I see that there's a Graham on my screen, or is he gone? Well, we don't see Graham.
I can't see him.
But let me continue then. The band, of course, comes out of the late 80s, where the UK has FM going on, has Thunder going on. Talk to me about the scene at that time, because here in North America, it was sort of the end run for Motley Crue. It was the end run for some of these bands, but in the UK, it just seemed to have been starting at that time.
Yeah.
What was the scene like back then? And were you sort of pub chums with FM and Thunder and Danny and Steve?
No, not really. I mean, we'd all played in previous bands, and we kind of got together originally off the back of a solo album that I had with Atlantic Records back in 1982.
Yeah, the EP.
Yeah, when I was just a boy.
I'm looking at it now. Tombs of the Pharaoh, Untrue Hearts, Give It Up, Make the Break. Come on, that's some good stuff. I was listening to it before. I mean, I gotta love it.
Cool. You know more about it. You remember it more than I do, then, basically. But yeah, that stuff was put together way back in '82. We had the mini album deal with Atlantic, which was great as a solo artist. But I always wanted a band to take stuff out live, and Bite the Bullet was that in motion really. Graham and I put the band together. We hired a bunch of musicians that we all knew or worked with in the past or were good friends with, and it just gelled. I mean, we were never a big live act. We basically set out with the task of taking, a sound, getting it recorded, getting it out into the public domain. The scene around us at the time was much more wide open back in the mid 80s than it was towards the end of the 80s. Towards the end of the 80s, Britpop was starting to really sort of, shall we say, work its way into the mainstream music in the UK. I'm talking about Oasis, Blur, and such like, And funny enough, we were talking about it today. Because our album was released right at the end of the 80s, we've kind of feel now that maybe it was 3 or 4 years too late. If it had been 1986, 1987, we would have stood a chance. I mean, our heroes are bands like Toto, Foreigner, Mr. Mister, all the big techno.
Mr. I love that band.
They're still, Richard Page voices and the original Mr. Mister band were just fabulous. We were captivated by the sequencers, the whole. Look, if we can put a kitchen sink on that song, we're going to bloody well do it. You know what I mean? And I loved that approach at the time. And we modelled ourselves in that sort of zone. And those were our heroes, and that's what we wanted. But as I say, towards the time when we got the album released with Jet CVS, that kind of music in the UK and Europe was sort of, shall we say, getting a bit old.
Right. And of course, the label itself was having its own issues. And
yes,
I do want to explore that with Don Arden in a second, because obviously that was a moment. Don was certainly somebody that ran stuff. Before that, though, you were part of the new wave of British heavy metal with Mother's Ruin. And a lot of bands that came out of there, whether it was Def Leppard, whether it was Tigers of Pantang and John Deverell, they all went from that new wave of British heavy metal to sort of a more melodic rock and had great success. There's Graham. Welcome back, Graham.
Hey, Graham, are you in the toilet?
It's a bit like Spinal Tap, this, isn't it? You can't get out of the pod.
It is. And by the way, today we are speaking on March 2nd. It is on March 2nd, 1984 that Spinal Tap was released. So
yeah.
So
it's the exact time.
So the timing's perfect. But let me ask you about this. You come out of the new wave of British heavy metal with Mother's Ruin, and like I said, Tigers of Pantang, they move along into a more melodic sound. Def Leppard obviously became more melodic.
Yeah.
Did you find that too, that you couldn't tolerate or take that super heavy sound and you needed to move out into something different? Or talk to me about branching out and becoming more melodic oriented or more Mr. oriented, and not be so much about Ethel the Frog or some of those other, some of those other great bands.
I think it's we'll give Graham a chance to talk in a minute before he goes off to the toilet again, where he keeps disappearing. So, but I think with me, Mitch, it's always been about melody, and melody emotion. Whether that's backed up with a big guitar riff, whether it's backed up with a synth part, or whatever it's backed up with. And I am a guitarist naturally. That's what I do. I play the guitar really. I dabble with keyboards and drums and shit knows what else. But really, what I really do is play the guitar and sing. And that's where we're at. So whether it turns out I think that's why there's so much diversity on the new album as there probably was on the old. There's loads of melody, but there's loads of rock if you want it, and there's a little bit of commercial shit going on in there as well somewhere. If you want to dance around the room, and I think we never set out to do that. That's just happened because that's the way that we were seeing it at the time. Am I right with that, Graham? Are you going to talk to us now? And can you talk to us?
Yes.
No, I mean, you do what you do, and you were just doing what came out at the time, weren't you? You weren't trying to copy anybody or be like anything. You were just doing your own thing.
Right.
And I was there to play the drums for you.
Yeah, you certainly was, buddy. And you still are.
Yeah. The new, like I said, the new album is sounding great. So all right, let me get over to Don Arden. the band gets discovered or gets signed by Don on his label, and of course the label starts having all kinds of issues. First of all, let's go with the positive. How much of a genius was he? Because he did give big careers to a lot of bands. I mean, the guy is respected, you know. What was it like being discovered by Don? And did you know at that time, like, yeah, okay, we've got a shot. This guy, you know, Black Sabbath, Electric Light Orchestra, Air Supply, you know.
Yeah. Do you know, we'd heard loads of great stories about Mr. Big, as he was called. You know, we really didn't know what to expect when we were sort of summoned to his office because he wanted to sign the band. So we thought, yeah, let's go. I think myself, Graham, and Malcolm. Sorry, Graham?
Sorry, mate. No, it was frozen up my end.
Yeah, I think the three of us. The three of us ended up going to Don's office in Fulham, I believe, and we heard all kinds of stories about people being dangled out of windows and you know, all this sort of stuff. Do you know what? He was an absolute.
We just like doing that.
Yeah, he was an absolute pussycat. He was an absolute pussycat and a gentleman. And he sat behind his desk with a big cigar, sitting there looking like Winston Churchill, a kind of gangster version of Winston Churchill. And no, we found him nothing but charming. I mean, we knew that perhaps there was a bit of an issue with the label not being its, you know, up to its what it was. Let's say.
Well, its solvency was getting a little bit arduous.
Yeah, we knew that, but you know, he was just. I don't know what you recall of him, Graham, but I just remember him being a really personable guy.
I just remember his little feet sticking out from under the desk with his slippers on. And as far as I remember, he was wearing nothing underneath, just a dressing gown.
I think you might have made that up because I can't remember that.
At that time, did you get to meet any of his other label mates? Did Ozzy ever walk into the office and say, "Hey, fellas, how's it going?"
No. All we ever saw was gold records.
Well, that's yeah, lots of those. So let me ask you this: so the label is going down under, and you know, bite the bullet. You put out an album in '89. Here we are in 2021. We've got Black and White now. Was that part of the issue as to why you didn't move forward? Was it sort of bad management, bad timing, bad label, and everything went down the tubes, or do you blame Nirvana? Why wasn't the band able to maintain and get a second, third, fourth, fifth album going at that time?
Yeah, the problem really came with Jet / CBS Associates. The album in the States was, and the rest of the world, in fact, was signed to CBS Associates and on a lease tape deal. And we only found out kind of maybe 6 months after the event that CBS were dropping all their lease tape deals at that time. So not only was our timing really poor in terms of signing to Jet, great guys though they were, we'd also hit the shit pot, you know, when it comes to CBS dropping all their lease tape bands as well. And that, yeah, it did play a big part in why we didn't take it further. We just, as I said, when at the start of the interview, we kind of never broke up. We just kind of put it up on a shelf for a bit and said, let's leave it there for a while. You can only be kicked so many times, for Jesus Christ's sake. You know, I mean, we'd also had a world tour in the planning with a support to ELO through Jet Records.
Wow.
And that would have, that fell to pieces as well. That actually fell to pieces way before, you know, we kind of just put the thing on the shelf. But that was at the start of the whole deal sort of process. And I actually saw the dates, you know, they were all over North America, South America, Asia, Australia, you know, all the way back up through into Europe. And again, I don't know whether it was some kind of contractual problem with ELO and Jeff Lynne or Jet or whatever it was, but it never happened. And of course, that was another, you know, kind of kick that I personally, I don't know about Graham, but I mean, I personally and the rest of the guys in the band just thought, hang on a minute, you know, let's just put this down for a little while. You know, we've done all right, and we thought we'd kind of made it. We were getting radio play, you know, on Radio 1. We were getting in the UK. We were getting Nicky Campbell was playing at Radio 1. We were getting Capital Radio in London were playing it as records of their week, you know, and we thought we made it for a bit there, lad, didn't we? But, you know, it just...
Well, we did, but we decided in the end just to get married and have kids.
Yeah, I think we did. I think
it's the story of everybody's career. You get married, and then all out the window. But in terms of let me bring it back to now, though. Black and White comes out. It's a great sounding record. Escape Music, and you can go over to Escape Music's website to find it, or you know, get it at Amazon or whatever. What does that mean for the future? Do we move forward? Do we look at like 2023 and say, let's make another one? Or do you just say, all right, we got this out of our system, and that's it, that's all? Where do we go from here?
Graham, talk away.
Well, just before the lockdown last March, we didn't know anything was going to happen, obviously. And I said to Mick, I need to write some stuff.
Hang on, I've told him this bit.
Well, where was I? I was trying to get out of the pod.
While you were in the toilet, I told him this bit already.
Oh, right.
But it's all right.
That's what you've done then.
So then, are we moving forward? Will there be a Bite the Bullet 3 coming out? Are we looking to do more, or is this sort of one and done? I mean, not one and done, but new one and done.
Yeah, go for it, Graham.
Well, I'll start again. You didn't talk about this in the toilet, did you? No. We're 7 tracks into a new album now.
There you go.
And it's sounding great. It's I think it's a little bit more guitar in it now. So it's a bit more rocky with the riffs than on the Black and White album. But no, we're moving forward. We're positive about getting that to people as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's the way it should be, I guess. So we'll end on this. But after 30 years of not making an album as Bite the Bullet, how did it feel to sort of put those old clothes on and get back into that saddle and say, hey, this is who we are? Because playing the pubs or playing for another band is fun, but it's not being your own band. How was it to be your own band again?
Well, for me, I couldn't get back into the suit. I know Graham couldn't. No, I kid you not. No, it felt great. It feels really great. We're enjoying what we're doing. I mean, obviously, we're musicians. We want to be. Graham is a big hitter on the drums. He loves to knock people's ear rolls out. And he's desperate to do it, but we can't let him yet because nothing's open. Everything's still closed. When it opens, we'd love to do it. We want to take it out. We want to put a third album out. We want to carry on with it. We're really enjoying it. And in reality, once the lockdown's over, we're desperate to get the other 2 guys that we're still really good friends with from the original Bite the Bullet involved in the next album, so that we've also almost got the whole original package back together.
A little reunion tour, that'd be great. And I'm telling you, if you can get out and get on a bill with you and FM and Thunder and put a little triple bill out together of melodic rock, it'd be terrific. But so it would be interesting to get that. So in the meantime, because lockdown here at least is going to be forever. I don't know about the UK, but here we're on curfew. You can't leave the house. Blah blah blah. You're going to finish up these other 7 or other tracks and then get that out later this year, you think? You might do a double release this year? Well, sort of nothing else to do, right?
Yeah.
Shit, I mean, what happens as long as Nick keeps writing the music, I'll keep writing the words.
Yeah.
Can't wait. Right now, I'm not over Wembley. I just want to play down the pub.
Anyway. Just want to get playing.
Yeah, we've not talked to Escape. I mean, they know we're writing stuff, but we've not talked about another release this year. But at the moment, because of the situation we all find ourselves in, I seem to be hitting a bit of a purple patch of ideas. And I know that they don't last forever. So I want to get them down. I want to get the next album in demo format so that I can bring the guys in to record it for real. I want to get it to Escape Music, and I want to get it out by Christmas. That's my game plan anyway. So
wow,
I'm hoping that we can get out of this lockdown and get the guys into the studio and get it rolling. But we still got about another 5 or 6 songs to write yet, and maybe 1 or 2 old ones that we wrote for the follow-up album that never happened.
Right.
From the first album would be nice to graft in there as well. So
yeah,
it's all good stuff for us. We're really enjoying it.
Hey, listen, when Van Halen did A Different Kind of Truth, they polished off demos from 1974, 75. So why not? And then I'll finish on this. Mick Benton, solo artist. There was a moment in time. Is that something that still interests you in terms of going to Khalil over at Escape and saying, hey, how about just me putting together a me record? Or is that in the past too?
I think that's pretty much. I don't really see that. We're riding the bite the bullet thing. I mean, Graham and I, and probably Malcolm and 1 or 2 of the other guys in the band, we've always had a soft spot for Bite the Bullet. It almost is me for everybody in that band. But there was never any ego. Well, apart from Graham, who used to spend most of his time in the toilet. But there was never any real egos in that band. So, it didn't matter who played the solo. It didn't matter who, played this part or that part. As long as it worked, it was almost like a brotherhood. That's the only way I can describe it. And that's all I'm interested in doing for the time being. And we want to get and play it, Mitch, before we get too old. We ain't young guys anymore. We're old guys now, We are old guys.
Oh, trust me, I'm the same, because I was around in those 80s, loving all these bands and buying and going to the shows. So, folks, Bite the Bullet, Black and White, available now, and from Escape Music. And if head over to Rock Candy Records and check out the first one. It's available, reloaded and remastered, as they call it over there. Thank you, gentlemen. A great pleasure, as we say in Montreal. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much.
Have a lovely summer.
Yeah, 5 months from now.
Take care, Mitch. Lovely talking to you.
Yeah, lovely talking to you. Cheers now. Bye-bye now. That was great. Thank you. Awesome.